Welcome everyone. When the Catholic Church teaches about the liturgy of the Word at Mass, especially the liturgy of the Word at Mass on Sunday, the Church says a lot of interesting things. It talks about how important the Old Testament is and how Jesus prayed the Psalms and we hear the Psalms, and the Church talks about the second reading and how that kind of goes off in its own way, and the Gospel and the importance of the homily. But the Catholic Church is very, very clear about something. The most important part of the liturgy of the Word is hearing the Word, not the homily, not the prayers of the faithful, not the creed. All of them are important. The most important part is hearing the Word, especially the Gospel. And notice, it's only for the Gospel that we stand. It's only for the Gospel that we use incense. It's only for the Gospel where we speak directly to Jesus. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. The Gospel is very important. This is a great Gospel this week. So I'm going to read it again. I explained it yesterday. I'll just give you a few brief ways that we can apply this to our lives. But I would encourage you today, on Friday, to reread this and kind of spend some time with it. If you had the Connections workbook, there's always references to the Catechism in the Daily Personal Prayer Guide on Friday. So on Friday, there's always a couple of references to the Catechism that explain or develop a part of the Gospel for that Sunday. So, a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a large crowd gathered around him, and he stayed close to the sea. One of the synagogue officials, named Jairus, came forward. Seeing him, he fell at his feet and pleaded earnestly with him, saying, "My daughter is at the point of death. Please come, lay your hands on her, that she may get well and live." He went off with him, and a large crowd followed with him and pressed upon him. There was a woman afflicted with hemorrhages for 12 years. She had suffered greatly at the hands of many doctors and had spent all that she had. Yet she was not helped, but only grew worse. She had heard about Jesus and came up to him in the crowd and touched his cloak. She said, "If I but touch his clothes, I shall be cured." Immediately, her flow of blood dried up. She felt in her body that she had been healed of her afflictions. Jesus, aware at once that power had gone out from him, turned around in the crowd and said, "Who has touched my clothes?" But the disciples said to Jesus, "You see how the crowd is pressing upon you, and yet you ask, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see who had done it. The woman, realizing what had happened to her, approached in fear and trembling. She fell down before Jesus and told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has saved you. Go in peace and be cured of your affliction." While he was still speaking, people from the synagogue official's house arrived and said, "Your daughter has died. Why trouble the teacher any longer?" Disregarding the message that was reported, Jesus said to the synagogue official, "Do not be afraid, just have faith." He did not allow anyone to accompany him inside, except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they arrived at the house of the synagogue official, he caught sight of a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. So he went in and said to them, "Why this commotion and weeping? The child is not dead but asleep." And they ridiculed him. Then he put them all out. He took along the child's father and mother, and those who were with him, and entered the room where the child was. He took the child by the hand and said to her, "Talitha koum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." The girl, a child of 12, rose immediately and walked around. At that, they were utterly astonished. He gave strict orders that no one should know that this has happened, and said she should be given something to eat. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. As often as I read that Gospel, I discover something new all the time. And I'm sure as you read it again today, you're going to do the same thing. The 12 connection, people falling at Jesus' feet. Jesus ordered them all out. You notice when he gets to the house, Jesus now brings the mother along. And it's just a beautiful story. So, it's a story of the difference that Jesus can make in people's lives. Not just in the life of the woman who was cured, or in the life of the little girl who was dead, but also, for example, in her parents' lives, and if she had brothers and sisters, or the apostles who were with Jesus, and other people who see the woman who's cured and can't believe it. So I would encourage you to give thanks to God for the great things that God has done in your life. Give thanks to God for the great things that God has done in your life. If you have a good job, if you have your health, if you have good friends and a loving wife or a loving husband, give God thanks for that. The little things that we take for granted. We have enough food to eat and things to drink and a house to live in and clothes to wear. Give God thanks for them too. So give God thanks for the great things he has done in your life. God bless everyone and have a good weekend.